Hello everyone, welcome back to Kredict. Today is day 7 of Learn Blockchain Development with Kredict. This is a 45-day challenge series in which you will learn blockchain development from starting to end. After watching the complete series, you will be able to deploy smart contracts, create decentralized applications with the help of Solidity and other front-end languages like JavaScript. In previous videos, we have seen some features of Solidity like loops, conditional statements, variables, and other features. So, in today's video, we are going to explore some more features in Solidity language. So, without wasting any time, let's get started. So, I'm gonna quickly open my web browser. I'm using Chrome here. You can use whatever the browser you like or which is your default browser. So, here you can see we have a folder called blockchain tut and in which we have created some smart contracts, and the last we have just created is loops in which we have seen how loops work. And before proceeding further, I want to teach you one important concept in Solidity, that is keywords break and continue. If you are familiar with other programming languages, you may know about break and continue, and also in Solidity they work similar. But if you don't know what is break and continue, don't worry, I'm gonna explain it to you here. So for better view, I'm just gonna close this. Here we have a loop, that is while loop. So for simplicity, I'm just rewrite all these things that you have a better idea how to write loops in general if you haven't seen previous videos yet. Okay, so this is our in general smart contract with first line of license. Second line is of version specifier in which we specify which version of Solidity compiler our file is required to be compiled. And the third thing is this contract, which holds all the logic of this contract inside it. So just if you want to, or in general we want to execute something, we should wrap it in a function in Solidity, because there is no thing like general or standard input output in Solidity. So we do all these stuffs with the help of functions. So just quickly create a function here. I'm going to write it as function. Name it whatever you want. I'm going to write it as checking loops. You can say just open bracket. I'm just not gonna put any parameters here for now. This is a public and pure, and this returns integer in last. If you are still confused, just check the previous video of I think day 6. You will get the better idea of what we are doing here exactly in loops. Okay, so I'm gonna write here a for loop which calculates the sum of numbers by repeating the addition expression multiple times. To store sum, I'm gonna write here in integer sum equal to 0. So I've initialized the sum variable to 0 because we are going to add numbers to it. And I'm gonna write here the for loop for int I equal to 0, or for simpler reasons I'm just gonna write it as 1. It starts from 1 and goes up to 10. Okay, here you can see, and increment it as plus 1, or you can say it will increment the number with plus 1 each time. And you can do here sum plus equal to I, you can say, or if you are just want to add a one number or single number, you can say 1. And in last, just return the sum. Okay, This is how we can write a smart contract and a function in it that has a for loop and return the result of the total submission or whatever you have done this in this contract. Okay, so now we will going to see the concept of break. uh, if you are not getting it, I just gonna write it as break. So this is the spelling of break, and it works similar to its name. When you are running a loop and if you want to terminate it in between for some reasons or according to some conditions, you can use this keyword. Whenever this keyword is encountered in the body of loop, it will get terminated. So let me show you how this works. And we are going to create this example in a way that we can notice the difference with break. So I'm going to just increment this one so you have a better idea. Okay, so here I'm going to write if. I hope you are familiar with if else conditions, and if you're not, just watch the video of conditional statements in this series. I think it's third or fourth video, or just go to playlist in the link in description and check the video of conditional statements and then come back. And the best thing is to follow the whole series along from video 1. It will be much better to understand the concept and idea of our program what we are writing here, because we use a lot of concepts from previous videos. So make sure you have checked out all the previous videos and then come to this. Okay, so I'm going to write here if I becomes you can say 4. Okay, so what this does, this checks for the condition if I is equal to 4. You can see the double equal to means checking for equality, equal, and this single equal to means assignment, assignment. I have cleared this thing because in general life or in general calculation, we use this operator, the single equal to operator, to describe equality between two values. But in programming languages, we generally use these double equal to check or describe the equality between two values or numbers, you can say. So this individual number or the expression, you can say, return either true or false, and this condition checks for any true or false, which means if this condition evaluates to true, then the body of this if will execute, and if it results to false, then the body of else will be executed. So if it's else, just put some plus equal to 1. Just quickly format it. I think the okay, it's worked now. Okay, so just remove this, and if I equal to 0 or I becomes 4, I'm just simply gonna break this loop. Okay, so just write break anywhere you want to use, and generally we use break in loops because writing in just between some code examples does not make any sense. So we generally use in break, and this is very important because I have told you in previous video that in Solidity we have to monitor and make sure that our loop never goes in infinite condition or consumes the more memory, because in Solidity we try to use loop as less as we can, because general loops consumes much more resources than a normal function or normal expression, because it does the thing repeatedly. So always try to avoid using loops, but if there is no option, just try to make it more optimized. But I'm here to learn, teach you some concepts. So I'm teaching you the concept, then you have to use your own brain to use these concepts. And don't worry if you don't understand this, just follow along. In this series, we will see how to develop the real application contracts, and we'll deploy it to testnets and also connect it with our front end and do some cool stuff. Okay, so enough talk. We have this function. Just quickly deploy it and see what happens. Okay, so this auto compiler is on, so it will be automatically compiled. But for confirmation, I'm just going to click on this compile loop, and here on deploy and run transactions. Just why is this hovering here? Okay, it's gone now. So select your function name. Your address is automatically selected. This is uh, once I remember you that this all are test addresses provided by Remix virtual machine, and all these ethers are just fake. This has no value in real life. Okay, so just we have selected your contract, which is this contract here, and it specify the file blockchain tut slash loops.sol. Means in the folder of blockchain tut there is a file says loops.sol, and in which there is a contract named loops. So here you can see. So just gonna deploy. Just open this and click on checking loops. You can see it returned us 3, which means the loop started from 1 and it checks for I condition. You can see 1 is not equal to 4, so it will come here and execute this expression which says sum plus equal to 1. So it becomes 1. The number 0 becomes 1. And in next iteration it becomes 2, and in third iteration it becomes 3. But when the value of I goes to 4, it came here and checked for this condition, and this conditions evaluates to true, and the loop breaks and it terminates the whole loop. So that's why we have only seen here 3, not the 10 we would expect to see in the loop without break. If you're not clear, just remove this and I'll show you the actual, then we will recover it. Okay, so just close this, deploy again, open this, and so here you can see it should return 10, but if you are using loop, oh sorry, not loop, but if you are using break, then it will break the loop according to condition. Okay, just close this and redeploy, open this and check. So you can see it's only return 3. So this is how you can use break statements in loops, and this is pretty much same in while loop. You can use this with if else conditions or else if conditions, whatever you say. So just quickly see what is continue in Solidity. So the main difference between break and continue, as its name suggests, that break terminates the loop permanently. Okay, if you are using break and the break is encountered, then the loop will be terminated forever, which means this loop after encountering break will be terminated and it will run no longer. Okay, but in the case of continue, it skips, you can say it skips the iteration and continue with other or another, you can say. So what does this mean actually? Instead of using break, if I use continue here, then what it will do, it start the loop from 1, goes to 1 2 3, and in case of 4 it just skip the rest of the code and goes to next iteration, which will be, it will be 5. So this loops goes like 1 2 3 5. Notice it skips 4 6 7 8 9 and then 10. So you can check this. Actually, to check this in this condition, you should see the return it's 9, but actually it's skipped the fourth number in between. So just deploy, open this and check. So you can see here it's 9, but in actually it skipped the fourth. That's why there is one less number. But there is a question in your mind that how we can know that it only skipped the 4. It maybe skipped the 5 or 6 or 10 maybe. So to verify this, we can check another example. So we will see a next example for this to verify the continuous working. So I'm just quickly going to remove all this and just very simple. In this case, if I want to continue, I'm just gonna return it and then continue. Okay, so just check it out. So I'm gonna write it as a for loop starting from int I equal to 0 or 1, you can say, and I less than equal to 5 for just a shorter loop, no stress, I plus plus. And here generally we say return return what I'm gonna write here, return I. Okay, so why there is a thing called unreachable code? Yes, because if in first iteration it will return the I and there is no scope to reach this code, that's why it says it's unreachable code. But we are not going to execute this, I'm just showing you something. Generally you want to print the I here, but there is nothing like print statement in Solidity, so we can't do here. And if we return this, you can see it only returns 1 and then nothing to execute here because the function executed its state. Okay, so keep this simpler, we are going to use continue. So I'm going to check if I becomes, you can say, 2. Okay, so just continue, else return I. Okay, just put a semicolon here. So because what does this happen, I'm going to write as in the other situation, like you can say in 1, because in first iteration it will continue, skip, and else it return. So we are expecting it to return 2. This is a very crazy example, but I hope you will get the idea. Okay, and if this says the unnamed return variable, because it sees no return statement outside this loop, so it thinks if in case a loop does not return anything, what I will do. So for its you can say satisfaction, I can return 0 here. Okay, not a big deal. This is just nothing because we will encounter this in our second iteration itself and it will return the number. So this will never gonna reach here, but for avoiding this warning we can use this. Okay, so just close this previous one and make sure that the address and wallet is selected already and the contract is selected. It's gonna deploy. Okay, so here it is deployed and click on checking loops. You can see we have 2. What this actually means that in the first iteration it started with 1, and if 1 is encountered or I becomes 1, it just continued the skip. You can see it does not return as 1 because in case of 1 it continued, or you can say it has skipped the iteration, and next iteration when its I becomes 2, it fails this condition and else executed and it returned 2. And you can write it this without you can say braces, because this is going to ultimately return the I from this. Okay, so this will give the same result. Just delete it and redeploy this. Okay, so check loops and you can say we have the same result too. And if you can't see this properly, let me zoom it out a little bit. Okay, so this is very small, but I hope you can see here it's written too. So this is how the continuous statement work. And to remember, just make a statement with their names, like break terminates the loop permanently and continue it skips the iteration and continue with another, because it had skips first and continue with another, which ultimately result into return a I value, which is 2 obviously. uh, Solidity has some limitation in terms of explaining the code because this does not support any standard output, so we will have to give the examples in such a interesting manner, because you never see example of continue like this in any other language, because they have some features like printing the output on the console or other features, so you can use that. But here there is not no thing like printing, so we are just returning with a sense of mind, and you have to understand this accordingly, or you can try another example if you have. So this is all about break and continue in Solidity. I hope you have a proper idea what is this and how to use this. Let me quickly show you how we can use the break and continue in while loop, that we assure that you have no doubt at all. Okay, so let's quickly delete this. So this will return int 256, or you can say just int. These all are same. I have discussed about this in our initial video, so please go and check it out. Okay, so just write here what you are going to write. Okay, so I'm going to write here I equal to 0, because in while loop we don't pass the initial value anywhere in the loop. So while I goes to, you can say 5, I just put this one here. Okay, so this is our body of while loop, which starts from 1 and goes to 5, because until I stays less than 5 or equal to, it will run. Or to update the value of I, you can say I plus plus. This is kind of mandatory to update the value, because if you are not updating the value, it will goes to false always, and I mean this goes to true always, and this loop will run for infinite until unless the memory has all over consumed and the function dropped, and you know what it happens. Okay, so just what we are going to do, we are seeing the first example, we can say the sum example. So let's quickly create a variable here. You can say int sum equal to 0, and if you can say I equal to 2, break else sum plus array plus equal to 1. Okay, you can say why is this error, because I have forgotten here a semicolon. So never forget your semicolons, always put a semicolon after each terminating line. Just I'm going to put it here quickly and format this for clear view. So what is the, okay, so return something. Okay, so in last we are going to return you can say sum. So this is our code. Just quickly deploy this and check what this do. Just clear this. Here is our contract. Just click on deploy. Scroll down. Here is our function. Checking loops. So you can see it only returned 1, which means the value started from 0 and added 1 in first iteration, because in first iteration I is not equal to 1. So sum plus 1, it become 1. And in second iteration, it encounters the break condition and it goes to terminating the loop, and it only returned 1, which is the last value stored in some variable. Not sum, it's sum. Hmm, just clear. Okay, so just quickly create this. Okay, so similarly you can use continue here. I'm going to write continue and just return 0 here, or return I. We are creating the same example in case of if it encounters 2, then stop. We are going to write just 3, because in the case of 3 we are going to continue and return I. So what this is doing, I think, okay, no, how does this reach to 3? Okay, we are going to put 1 here. Here's another warning, unreachable code, because it sees it continuing and returning, so it thinks there is no, but we are going to put this here for better understanding. Just close this. Click on deploy. You can see our contracts are deployed successfully. Just click on checking loops, and why does not return something? Okay, I less than 5. This is very slow. Gas, please increase the gas limit. Okay, you can see we have just created a, I think, infinite loop which goes to something very interesting, and this fails ultimately. So just quickly check what happened. We have this variable, just remove this because there is no use of it now. Int I equal to 1, I less than equal to 5. In first iteration, I goes to, okay, so we also have to increase this, because this will end up in a, so we have to increase it on the top, because we still keeps the loop running because we don't want an infinite loop in our iteration. Okay, so now this is perfect. Just the placement of uh, increment is wrong, so we have just corrected this. Just close this and redeploy and try to execute this. Okay, click on checking loops, and you can say here it is returned 2 because in first iteration it will continue, and second iteration that I becomes 2, this condition fails, and the else condition will execute and it will return the value of I, which is in actual 2, and we can see 2 here. So just close this, and I hope you have get a better understanding on break and continue in Solidity. And I think if you are from another background of programming language like Java, Python, C++, or any other language, all these most popular languages have the concept of break and continue in their loops. So they work that, I think, the definitely same. Just some tweaks around to get your result done. So I hope you know what is the loop and break and continue and how to use them together. And you have seen we have also used conditional statements in between loops. So this is all clear to you. And if you have still any doubt, just write your doubts and questions in comment section. We will read your comment and try to solve your problem. So this is all for today from me. You are watching Kredict, and this is 45-day Learn Blockchain Development Challenge. So till then, stay safe.